What is going on, everyone? This is Ninja Geek here, and in this video I wanted to take my time to review Life is Strange, a game that came out a long time ago last year in 2015, and it ended its episodic episodes in late 2015, and I just got around to playing it, and I'll be getting all into that, as well as a rating system at the end of the video. So normally I do these types of videos when I see a game and I obviously play the game, and after I've done it, if the game is just that good, I want to make a review on it so that I get more people interested in the game. And this is one of those games that I feel like a lot of people could have missed, myself included, at the time when it did come out, because of either other games that came out and like the popular releases and stuff, but I wanted to get this game more noticed. Now obviously I'm not going to do videos like this for, per se, Halo 5, because that game is garbage and I'm not even going to talk about that right now, but let's get into Life is Strange. So the first thing that I would like to say about it is basically how I got into it. So I heard a couple things about it throughout 2015, but I never really interested myself to see what the game was. You know, those types of games that you kind of look at and it's like, okay, you know, that looks cool, but you never really decided to read on into it or anything like that. So I just let it pass. And then as time went by, I saw it on the Xbox store for the Xbox deals. It was $10 off like a couple weeks ago. So I basically said, I said, oh, you know, I heard about that game, I heard it was really good, did not hear anything about the game, there were no spoilers that were leaked to me or anything, and I picked it up on the Xbox store for $10. I think the game is originally $20 or $30, so I got a pretty good deal from the Xbox deal, discount, games with gold, whatever you call it. So I basically started playing episode 1, and from there, that moment, I got hooked on the game. The game has excellent character development, which is what you need in a storyline. You find that Max and her friends around her have excellent character development. It's not something that they threw together. Like, for example, I'll throw one out there. Destiny was a game that did not have story or character development within the game. Therefore, it didn't really stick with a lot of people. And that was the problem with Destiny's story. It wasn't pushed out as a storyline game, but when you have a game like this, it's comparable to Telltale in a way, and I will compare Telltale and Dontnod's game of Life is Strange to The Walking Dead and Wolf Among Us and stuff like that at the end of this video, but I just want to say that there's so much character development between Max, the main character, and obviously Chloe, her best friend, within the entirety of the game. It's just so much compacted into one, and if there's a game out there that makes you feel like you care about that character so much as if they were actually in real life, then that is an example of good character development. No matter whether you hate that person or love that person to death. Like, for example, in this game, Chloe was a great example of someone that I would love to have someone like this in real life. But then you have someone like David in the game, who is like a person that you probably would not want to have in real life. And if you feel that way about characters in a video game, then you know that the people that were developing this and writing the story arc for this did a really great job at doing it. So I'm going to try and explain the story arc here within the story without giving too much of a spoiler, because I don't, want to give away too major spoilers, so if you're afraid of that, you can click away, as I did say in the beginning of the video. But within the story, there is such, as well as the character development, the story moves along and it flows as excellent flow to the story. There's never a moment in it when you want to just put it down and say, I'll come back later, I don't know about this part being in the game. Everything in this game, from episode 1 through the end of episode 5, fits perfectly well within the game, and it's just, I think that it was one of the best games that I ever played. In terms of story arc between Dontnod's Life is Strange and Telltale's The Walking Dead, and there are other games that obviously they've made, I feel like personally within The Walking Dead Season 1, that they could have used much more choices within the game. Life is Strange has the character development, and it has those choices that make huge impacts later on within the episode, within other episodes as well, that you wouldn't think would. But then you have Telltale games, and Season 1 of The Walking Dead was one of my favorite all-time games, and it had the character development. The problem with it was that the choices that you made weren't really that life impacting as Life is Strange. And that's what I love about this storyline, and that's why I think it even could place over the top of The Walking Dead's, Telltale's The Walking Dead, but you can let me know about that down below. But anyways, getting alongside the storyline, there's a lot of optional stuff that you can do, different collectibles that you can collect for achievements. And speaking of that, I would like to mention for a little bit that there's one problem that I've been having on my Xbox One, where I would sometimes take an optional photo and the achievement wouldn't pop up, or it wouldn't give it to me, and I would have to redo it again. It was a bit frustrating to figure out, but I ended up figuring that out. So that's like the only problem that I have with this game, was getting some of the optional photo achievements, but I ended up getting all those because, I obviously went back and sometimes it didn't count. I don't know if it's because I moved the analog stick or something while I was taking it, but that is beside the point. The actual storyline of the game, how it progresses through, and episode 1 and 2 are excellent. You get to learn more about the character development. Those episodes really hook you in, and then once you get into episode 3, you really start to care about the characters, and that's when the story takes a twist, and you learn about Chloe's past and the future of who is actually this murderer who's been murdering these girls. And it's just amazing, an amazing storyline you would have never thought. And then we've got episode 5, where yes, we know that the game is about time manipulation. It's all about going back in time, going back and forth and manipulating it, and we find a new mechanic where she can actually use photos to go through and go back in time and alter the events in the past to change what happens in the future. It's just overall everything. It's not the type of game where you would expect, okay, they give you everything at the beginning and then you play through it. You learn more and progress more through the game as you go through, and as you should progress through the game. Episode 5 was the most intense, I could say, out of all the episodes, because there is so much depth within the episode. I actually predicted that in episode 5, we would actually get to see Warren's photo that she took in episode 4 used to go back into time to be used in episode 5, and I predicted that. And there's a lot of predicting within the storyline that you can make, and yes, that did actually happen. I predicted what was going to happen, but let alone did I know that that wasn't the only thing that was going to happen. There was going to be a huge other sequence of events, and Max goes back in time into a nightmare, I guess you can say, reflecting over the past couple of episodes. Like, she's reliving her past from the past week that happened at Blackwell Academy. And also within the story, not only do we have regular storyline progression, but we actually see a lot of different spiritual and kinetic things within there. That it's like Max's spirit animal is the doe, Samuel's is the squirrel, and we see a lot of animals coming into play with this, a lot of photos, and that's the whole thing. I like how they connect the photos to the storyline, and it's not just, oh, she takes a photo here, she takes a photo here. They actually have a lot of meaning within the entire storyline, and something that a lot of, someone actually mentioned in like a YouTube comment was like a lot of the symbolism, I want to say, within here. One, to note that Chloe actually wears a necklace of 3 bullets around her neck, and that is symbolic because she actually dies 3 times and Max saves her 3 times within the story. So I really like how they put a lot of work and effort into making this game what it actually has become now, and what we can actually play and manipulate and determine what can happen within the future. I doubt they're going to make another game because the way it ended, the way that I got my personal ending, but it is something to think about for the future, and just in general how the game turned out to be. The music used within Life is Strange is very good. I find that it didn't really match up well in the beginning because I was like, oh, what is this kind of music? It was different to see a game use music that I actually quite enjoyed by the end of the game, but overall the music fit well with the scenes, and it made even the cutscenes look really well. Just overall, in general, great scoring and, great use of other music that was used within the game. And lastly, the thing that I really enjoy about this game is that you can play this game multiple times if you really wanted to, because the choices that you make affect a lot of things within the game that it's just, it makes you feel like you should go back and see what you want. Like, for example, there's the option where you get to kill Kate or have Kate not die, and then there's like the major options like that where you blame whoever you want to blame. Like, you could blame Nathan, David, or Mr. Jefferson, and that could affect the outcome of what people say. Also, at the end, you have a major choice of saving between Chloe and Arcadia Bay from a giant tornado, and that could affect obviously how your ending is, because that's the end of the game. So what do I have to say for that is that there's a lot of just lasting appeal that makes you want to go back and play the game over and over again. Now, I don't know how many times you would do it, but it's not like those types of games where you play it once and it's like, okay, I'm done. And now I'm going to be giving it the classic 4 rating system, categorizing in gameplay, graphics, sound, and lasting appeal. That's what a lot of people use to judge the games, and it's going to be going off a 1 of 10 base scale, and then I'm going to determine what my actual final score is for the game. So the gameplay, I give a 10. It's not the most dramatic gameplay that you're going to ever see. It's more like watching a movie, but the choices definitely make up for that and what effects to have on the future of the episodes that you play within the game. I think that gameplay in terms of standards is outstanding and by far deserves more than a 10 because of the choices that you can make within the game. The next category is graphics, and here is where I give it an 8 because the graphics aren't really the greatest thing in the world. They're not shitty graphics like something like out of a PS2 game, but they're nothing amazing like you would see in a lot of the higher end type of games that are coming out today for like a retail of $60. Does the graphics affect the gameplay at all and whether you should buy the game? Absolutely not, because the graphics, I don't even feel like it should be categorized as a category here. But, grading it, I would give graphics an 8 here. Sometimes things look a little bit weird. Like, I do have to say, the tornado looks a little bit out of place compared with everything else here and different things like that. But overall, the game doesn't have terrible graphics and they're playable, but the graphics don't make up the game. The other categories far outplay the graphics here, so don't get worried about that. Sound, like I mentioned before, I give a 10 because at first I wasn't sure about how the soundtrack really fit this game, but then overall it progressed. As it progressed, I really did enjoy listening to the soundtrack for Life is Strange, and I hope to listen to music like that in the future. And for lasting appeal, like we've just talked about, I would obviously give a 10 because it makes you want to go back and change the choices that you already made to see what kind of ending that you have become. Now overall, what do I give this game out of 10? I give it a 9. I'm leaning more towards the 9.5 because the graphics don't count, but if I just had to stick to pure solid numbers, no half numbers, I would go 9, but if you want to go half numbers, a 9.5. This game is outstanding. The only problem with it that I really had was the graphics kind of were a little bit off, but like I said, the other categories make up for it, so there's no problem there, and the only real problem that I had within the game was getting some of the achievements. I don't know if they need to do a patch to fix that or something like that, or maybe that's on Xbox, Microsoft's end, but I wasn't receiving some of those, so that was a little bit frustrating. But overall, I give this game a 9. I would give it a 10 if it just fixed those two problems that it had. Outstanding game, and I would highly suggest that you get it. So I hope you did all enjoy the video, and of course I do highly recommend getting this game. It's one of the best games that I've ever played, and by far I think it even tops The Walking Dead Season 1. Of course the character development are great within both of those games, but just the choices that you can make within this game and the relationships between the different people, I think that really make this game stand out. So we should really give a round of applause to Dontnod Entertainment for making this, and of course Square Enix for producing the game out. And I'm actually considering buying the limited edition of this game, like the hard copy, just so I can get the music that goes along with it. It's fantastic, and I wouldn't mind giving them more of my money because this game is well worth it, definitely, as you've heard many and many times over in this video. So I hope you did all enjoy. Hopefully I didn't spoil too much for you. If you did, you know what to do, and I'll see you on the next video. I'm Ninja Geek. I'm out, and peace.